One part of concentration is channeling all your attention and energy on one point. It's a certain one-pointedness of attention, but it's not just that. It's the nature of the mind to constantly fluctuate, to disperse its energy in so many different directions. That is the nature of a very programmed and conditioned mind. So what's involved in Dharana is not just channeling your energy on one point. Mind becomes fluctuated. You observe, notice silently within yourself, and then bringing your mind back again and again to one point. That can be called the practice of concentration. So channeling your energies where everything within you is aligned in one direction, your mind becomes like a laser beam. When you look at the light, let's say the light of the lamp over there, it's dispersing its light in so many different directions. But at the core of the light bulb is a tremendous intensity of heat and vitality. But that energy is dispersed. So if you were to channel all of that light and energy, aligning it in one direction, mind, body, emotion, intellect, definitely awareness, then that is the quality of a very concentrated mind. Now what's the value of this? In yoga we've always understood something of enormous significance, which only in the last 100 years in the West in psychology, they have just recently started talking about it. We've always been saying that what we are aware of in terms of the conscious mind is just scratching the surface of our being. Mind is like a vast ocean with so many subterranean levels, the conscious mind, the subconscious, the unconscious mind. And all these levels of the mind are interrelated and interpenetrating with each other. We are usually not aware of it, but there's not even a single moment in our life where all of these areas are tremendously active and influencing each other. To give you a very simple example of what I mean, the quality that you're in, just those few moments before you go to sleep, it has an enormous influence on what is the quality the tendencies which tend to continue throughout the sleep. So let's say just a few moments before you go to sleep, you're in a very deep state of receptivity, but fear arises. Certain thoughts which have been preoccupying your mind throughout the whole day, your mind suddenly becomes overwhelmed by them. And then you go to sleep. You'll notice in the sleep there's usually a transition point when you're moving from wakefulness to sleep. There's a middle point, an intermediary phase. In those moments, let's say you are fearful, those tendencies will tend to continue throughout the sleep, and then it spirals off, it becomes a nightmare. And even when you're experiencing a dream or a nightmare, can you really say that you're truly awake and lucid in the experience? Psychologists are talking about something called lucid dreaming, which maybe some of you have experienced it. That you're in the dream, but as opposed to being just in a hypnotic, oblivious state, as if you're in a trance, totally unaware of your existence, you are conscious that you're in the dream. Just like you're seeing and hearing and all your faculties right now are active, the same thing is possible, but you're in a dream. So that's what's called lucid dreaming. But most of the time you're not lucid when you're not in your wakefulness. So even those times when you're in a dream or dreamless sleep, then when you wake up, you come back to your wakefulness in the morning, you never suspect that perhaps the experiences that you are going through in the dream can have an influence on what is your quality in your waking state. Perhaps because of certain fears, anxieties, and neurosis in a dream, you're carrying the same qualities with you in your waking state. So in yoga, we've always said this, that every area of the mind is very deeply interrelated. There's no area of the mind which is not having an influence on all the other areas. So So this is why the tremendous value of concentration. Concentration awakens certain hidden potentials within you, which already exist within you, but they've not just been given a chance to come to the surface. So to look beneath the surface, to look beyond the appearances of things, we need to channel our energies in a certain direction. That's not just the case with yoga. Any area of life that you're involved in, any kind of activity of life, only how well can you perform in a certain activity. It's just how well you can invest your energies in a certain direction. A mind which has the energy which is dissipated, scattered in all directions, how can it perform efficiently and most effectively? You need to be so, if you really want to raise your performance to certain peaks and certain heights of potential, you need a mind which is very deeply concentrated. Just look any of the breakthroughs and discoveries that have happened in the history of humanity. Would they have been possible without concentration? All the scientists working very hard on a single problem, encountering so many different obstacles along the way, and then not being discouraged by the obstacles, asking the question, why do these obstacles exist? What is it which is obstructing my path? Coming to an understanding of those obstacles. Once you have an understanding of those obstacles, you find, oh, a new set of obstacles appears. You understand, again, invest your energy in concentration, understanding what are those obstacles. Those obstacles dissolve. Suddenly a new set of obstacles arise, and like this you're expanding from one dimension to the next, from one realm to the next. So how would any of this be possible? Any kind of growth which is channeled like this, how would it be possible without concentration? That is the case when it comes to the inner world, that is your spiritual well-being. That is also the case when it comes to the outer world. It reminds me of one story in one scripture, the Mahabharata. So there's one guru who's a master in archery, and he's teaching the Pandavas and the Kauravas about the art of archery. So they're there in the forest. On one tree in the forest, he's put a clay bird. And he asks each of the princes to shoot the arrow into the eye of the bird. So he asks one prince to come forth. Tells him, okay, aim your arrow. He aims at the bird. And then he asks him, okay, describe what you see. The prince says, I see the forests, I see the trees, I see some of the mountains in the distance. I see the bird, I see the head of the bird, and I see the wings. The guru said, drop your bow immediately and step aside. Then he asks the next prince, okay, you step forth, aim your arrow at the bird, and tell me what you see. So the prince said, I see the trees, I see the branches of the tree, I see the head of the bird, and I see the wings of the bird. The guru once again said, okay, you put your arrow and your bow aside. Finally, Arjuna steps forth, who is a very skilled in the art of war and a very powerful warrior. So he asks him, okay, now you tell me what you see. He said, I see nothing else except the eye of the bird. Then the guru asked, don't you even see the wings, the head of the bird? He said, no, I see nothing else except the eye of the bird. Then the guru said, okay, excellent. You've learned the lesson that I've been trying to indicate. That's the very quality of a concentrated mind. Your energies are so one-pointed and immersed that this moment is the first and the last moment. That can be done, yes, as a voluntary action of the mind. But the reason why the practice of concentration is being done in yoga is because you'll find if your energy of the mind and your attention can remain one-pointed in one direction for a certain amount of time, you'll find something else of a totally different quality happening. The voluntary effort of the mind starts disappearing, and the mind, for some reason, gradually starts coming to a deeper stillness. And the more still the mind becomes, in exactly the same way, your perception also starts expanding. So that is when you come to what we are calling Dharana, which is concentration, is transformed into what we are calling Dhyana, which is meditation.